There's no easy way to say this. Guess I'll say it.
Hello everyone, this is Thundersmiths Drumspiration episode 2 and I'm here with Brad, formerly of Piston. Brad, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Hot. I mean, I'm sweating. It's about 30 degrees here. I'm absolutely baking. I mean, being half Egyptian, because my mum was, you'd think I'd kind of be good with the heat, but I'm like, because I've got the half English, half Arabic, it's kind of like I'm too hot, too cold. I just can't, never happy.
I'll straight up just say it now that I absolutely hate it. The heat is vile. The last couple of days have been unbearable.
Yeah.
Haven't they? Yeah. Oh man. Yesterday, my girlfriend, she's just hilarious when it's hot. It's the most over dramatic thing you've ever seen in your life. She's great. But the heat has just been horrific the last couple. Luckily, I wasn't working yesterday, so it's all good.
Well, I can imagine like the fans on and just seeing seeing the sort of the deathly amounts your sort of electricity bills going up because you've got like 20 fans on,
Yeah, awful, but it's all good. It's all good. Did you cope okay though?
Yeah, fine. I mean, I got my kids at home and stuff. They kind of they're all right. They just kind of they've got fans in the room, so they're all right. And the two dogs I've got, they're just kind of sat in front of the fan constantly, just panting like mad. So yeah, we're all good. I got loads of beers, loads of ice. So I'm sort of prepared.
I went into the range yesterday, very excited, I know, and I just went in and I was like, has anybody got a cheap paddling pool? Like anything?
That's it, yeah.
And they literally laughed me out the shop. They were like, Sharon, this guy, he's coming asking for a paddling pool. And they're like, oh no, he hasn't. And then they started calling the woman in the warehouse and they were all fucking laughing their bollocks off at me. So
there's probably the little unicorn one with the rainbow, which is about the size of your foot, which you could have had for about 30 quid. But yeah,
I'd have gone for anything, mate. I was that desperate. I'm not built for this stuff.
Yeah, I know. It will sort of cool down. Hopefully, we've had some intermittent kind of spells of rain. In which case, I can't just stand out there with my top off out the front of the house, just kind of like Titanic like that, just sort of standing in the rain. It's lovely. It's lovely. So Brad, sort of in this series of podcasts I'm doing, what I'm trying to do is basically find out about yourself as a drummer, kind of how you started. Talk about a bit about the gear that you use and kind of why you made those choices, and then talk about things like your warm up techniques and kind of challenges you find as a drummer and as a musician. Being in a band and how you cope being in a band and sort of out of band when you're at home, kind of just jamming along and whatnot. So yeah, first question really is your sort of journey to drumming. How did it really start? What instruments did you kind of pick up before the sticks, or have you always been one?
I've always been one. Basically, I started when I was about 6, but and it was only because it was after school. I've never been into sports. I hate sports. I hate football. I hate anything like that. I can't stand it. Nor am I any good at it, which is probably why I hate it. But like my mum and dad, like even from when I was a kid, they both worked, so there was no one available to really pick me up from school. So I just used to go into this drum room at school. They had just a naff drum kit, and I just used to play. Just play anything really. And then and I didn't really know much about drums. I never really had any lessons or anything like that until much later on. When I say much later on, I mean like 3 or 4 years ago. But like I just got into just playing just to fill the time from when my mum could pick me up, like after school clubs and stuff like that. And it was just banging around. And then I met a guy, one of my mom's friends called Phil, and he got me into. He was a drummer, and he got me into. The first album I ever remember owning, like proper album, was a Saxon. No, Saxon. I knew I was going to say that. Judas Priest, British Steel.
Oh, amazing! Judas Priest, yeah, lovely.
And I remember hearing the first track, Rapid Fire. And he was like, he says, there's the drums on this. So I got into that. And I just started trying to play along to that album loads, but I never had a drum kit. I used to play it on my bedding and stuff. So I never stuck to anything as a kid. I still don't know. But I never actually, so I just started to learn to play along to that. And then I started asking my dad for Rhythm magazine. And then, because he used to see the drumming magazine instead of the PlayStation one. Neil Peart was mentioned a lot. from Rush, and I got really into him before I really got into Rush. It was odd, really, and I just went. That's how I got into it. Basically, I just got obsessed with Neil, but then obsessed with Rush. Didn't end up getting my first drum kit till I was about 13. But by then I'd just been playing loads at school, and I was absolutely terrible for that whole time. I never really learned anything that whole time, just how to make a noise. And that's it, really. So basically started off with, like, let's say, after school clubs and stuff like that. And then when obviously you get to high school, and if you're not into sports, you're not going to get laid. So so the only other next coolest thing to that is was playing drums, I guess. And it helped me get some girlfriends and stuff. So that was pretty cool. That was enough to stick to it anyway. So
normally
yeah,
the singers and guitar players that get the chicks. The kind of drummers come second to last, and normally the bassists come last, don't they? That's what I'm sort of led to believe, anyway.
Yeah. I don't really agree with that. I know. I think guitarists, lead guitarists have had their day. That was back in the 80s. No, we can do our thing now. No, it was really, yeah. I just learned that way, and just tried playing along to records and stuff like that. And I had when my parents eventually got me my first ever drum kit, they couldn't get me off the thing. You know what I mean? I'll be there every night after school, like playing as late as I could, and just stuck to it ever since. And like got in a band when I was about 14. Funnily enough, with Luke, who's a guitarist, well, was a guitarist in my band too. We've always been in the same band together since we were 14. So that's been pretty cool, and we just learned together, really. You know what I mean?
I mean, how would you say, like, kind of your journey from where you started to now? Like, how would you describe your playing, kind of your, I guess your, how you've educated yourself in music and drums? Like, how would you say that's dramatically changed over the years?
Well, basically, I always focused on, wrongly, I always tried to make it look good as opposed to anything else, because I figured out pretty early on that 95% of your audience are not drummers. So other drummers might watch me and go, God, he's crap. But that doesn't matter, as long as I can make it look good. The rest of the audience will love it. So I did that. But then I realised after I remember, like, I used to watch Motley Crue videos. I used to try and memorise how Tommy Lee span his sticks. I tried to watch all the showmen, because that's how I play. I tried to put on a show when I play a little bit, like I'm having fun. Then I started to realise that I was just like, not only was I kind of like bullshitting everyone else, I was bullshitting myself as well. You know what I mean? So then, like, when I was about sort of 21, 22, I went to this drum teacher called John Broberg, who was class, by the way. And I went and had a few lessons off him. Well, I had 1 or 2 lessons, and I was just too young and cocky to learn then as well. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, I was in a band that was playing gigs all over the place, but I knew I wanted to be better. But I struggle with when people learn from YouTube videos and things like that.
Yeah.
I struggle with that, and I need some pressure. I do. So I need some pressure of like no one's keeping an eye on me when I'm just watching YouTube videos or like trying to learn a new song. It's all down to me to do that.
Yeah.
But when I thought my thought being, if I had some lessons, like aside from the money, like I didn't want to ever turn up to that next lesson and have that awkward, like, I haven't really done what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. But the pressure of seeing the guy the next week would make me practice. But anyway, that was when I was like 21, 22, something like that. But I turned up to this guy and I walked in there with big hair and all that shit. And then he was like, right, play me something. So I played him something, hit this whole drum kit as hard as I can, as loud, fast as I can, as loud as I could. And he was like, ah, Christ, like, what are you doing? You dance with the drums, you don't attack them. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, so first thing you need to do is move your hands so many degrees this way. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, and you need to do like a bit of a, like, he did maybe do a roll. So he did his roll, I did my roll. And he was like, no, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I was like, who's this guy telling me I'm doing it wrong? I was like, absolutely not. So I never went back. I just sacked it off. I was like, just walked away and then just carried on as I was before for the next sort of like, I don't know, sort of 8 or 9 years. And then 8 or 9 years went past playing with Piston. And I decided I wanted to get better. So I went back to this John Broberg guy. And yeah, the first thing he did was, right, okay, you need to move your hands so many degrees this way. Exactly what he told me the years before. But the difference was at this point, I was ready to learn. I got a lot more into like funk and soul drummers. I got big into David Garibaldi from Tower of Power.
Yeah,
just
amazing.
different genres of drummers there. And I was just realizing with me playing the way I am, and I'm never ever for like everything was just like up here all the time, no dynamics ever, which was cool for a time. But then, like I say, when you get to a point, you're like, okay, I need to be a lot better than this now. You know what I mean? I felt anyway, but I wasn't ready to learn when I was younger. If that I just wanted to go out and get drunk and play drums. You know, so that's all I wanted to do. That is literally all I wanted to do. And then as I've got a bit older, I just really now wish that I'd listened to him the first time around.
Yeah,
because I could have been 8 years down that path now. But even now, I'm just trying to unlearn everything to learn again. If you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, you've got, from what I've seen live and you know on videos, you've got great power. You know, that's obviously like typical like Bonham or Keith Moon. You know, you've got power, but also you've got a lot of groove. So, like for example, for me, one of my favourite drummers of sort of the modern era is Michael Miley of Rival Sons. You just kind of listen the way he plays, and this is kind of in a way how I draw my say technique or sort of feel from is he plays with like quite a swung feel. It's almost kind of jazz like, and it just like he's got that kind of swung feel, but he's also got like the power as well, and it just as a combination it works really well. But like I said, you've got this kind of groove, your own sense of style, and from what you've been telling me about your kind of learning back then and sort of not being a bit stubborn to learn, you've obviously learned a lot. And it's also like the light and shade sort of scenario, so knowing when to step it up and kind of at your kind of moment, and also sort of take a step back, sort of sit in the beat, and then let the other guys kind of do what they need to do. It's quite, I mean, as a drummer, I guess it can be quite difficult because like some drummers think it's just all about being loud, fast, and heavy. But it's kind of, some people say, "Oh, I don't know how to play drums quietly, or how to play it delicately." And it literally is like, look, think of the drum kit as a woman. You've got to treat it delicately, to start off with, and if you need to kind of, give it some, then otherwise you're going to knock her out,
Yeah, I mean. And that's if you can last long enough, that is.
That's
it. Let's not kid ourselves, pal. But no, yeah, like, I completely forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something really good then. Yeah, no, bollocks. Hang on, I'll come back to that. So, yeah, Mike Miley.
You're talking about like having the sticks way up in the air and stuff like that, and just not let
No, yeah. I used to do a hell of a lot of that, and as I got home, it's like people that listen to the song, like that's what I was going to say. I think one of the good things about being self-taught from the ground up for such a long time is you're not like somebody could play something for me, and they'd say this time signature, and they'd say what it is they're playing, and it would mean nothing to me, like. Not a clue what they're talking about, but if they showed me, I could play it. And I think there's a lot to be said. It's benefited me for a long time because a lot of people were sort of, they think the technical musical way, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't right, this isn't wrong, this you shouldn't do that there, or you shouldn't be doing this here. Whereas I don't know any of that. So I don't know whether I'm doing what's right or wrong, but as long as it sounds good, I'm happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I'm pretty much, I think I'm the same as you. Self-taught. Didn't really want to learn to read like sheet music and drum music. I mean, I can read drum music a bit. I can write it a little bit, but kind of like scales and notation. I think it was laziness. Because I started off at school like with a recorder, which is kind of typically what you first start to learn if you didn't know what instrument you wanted to play. Did that for a bit, tried trumpet, did bassoon, but obviously drums is just kind of where I just kind of fell into, and I've had like 1 or 2 lessons. I considered doing drum tech in London, but yeah, at the time it was like expensive and kind of, I don't know, there's just a lot of work really to put in to sort of do it. And I was just kind of like, yeah, you know. So yeah, I've, like you've been self-taught. I've watched videos, listened to videos, played along to stuff. I know like some time signature, you know, like I know to count your bars and whatever. But like I used to be in this band called El Colosso, which was purely instrumental. So it was basically like influenced by like Rush, XTC, Yes, Porcupine Tree, and things like that. And it was just kind of like a fusion of instrumental, kind of Afrobeat, kind of prog, post punk, you know, like Glassjaw and things like that. And it was just ridiculous. Like I started off, a funny story. There's a guy called Phil Crawley who was the drummer at the time, and Greg, the guitar player. I worked with him at Virgin Megastore in Southampton, which is where I went to uni. And I kind of muscled in as like a second drummer, so with like a floor tom, snare, and a cymbal, bit of like a scaled down Slipknot sort of setup. Did that for a bit, and then I think Phil kind of got a bit fed up because he knew I wanted to kind of, you know, be the drummer as opposed to like the sideshow, as it were. Anyway, so I joined the band as a drummer and this, that, and the other. But yeah, the time signatures, I don't know what they were, but I watched him play them and like muscle memory kind of listened to what they were. And like I said, I wouldn't be able to tell you what, you know, the signatures were. It was just kind of listening to like the phrasing of the guitar and things. That it's like, as a self-taught drummer, like yourself, you listen to the phrasing of the voice, the, you know, guitar, the bass, and you can kind of follow where songs are going. It's like if you know, you can go into any situation as a drummer and just jam with people, but as long as you're kind of listening out to where things are, even if the time signatures are complicated, you can kind of learn where, you know, where the snare goes and where the gaps are. And it's just one of those things. And I guess that's the advantage of being a self-taught drummer over a theory. I mean, there's probably a hell of a lot, you know, like you and I could learn by really studying the theory, but for me, it's kind of like it's a bit mechanical, a bit robotic, a bit just kind of over self-taught. It's kind of not to put being self-taught down, but it's kind of like theory is kind of a bit more your Oxford and Cambridge, and being self-taught is kind of more your Polytechnic kind of thing, you know. But it just, you know, it works for you, it works for me, you know. And
the thing about music is, man, it's like people forget loads nowadays. I think there is no right or wrong.
No.
Nothing. Like one of my I'm going to see him on Sunday actually. One of my favorite musicians ever. Like my favorite musician, if not my favorite, is Wilco Johnson.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, Dr. Feelgood. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So Dr. Feelgood are one of my favorite bands of all time. Like everything about Wilco Johnson's playing is wrong. Everything. Like his voice. I mean, you could argue his voice is absolutely terrible. But I love it. I love it. Like if a record comes on and Wilco's playing, you'd be like, Wilco Johnson's playing.
Yeah, you can tell.
There's a really good guitar duel he does with Joe Eli. I don't know who the other guitarist's name is, but the other guitar player, he plays and he's like technically amazing. Like, but it's everything. You've heard it all before. You know what I mean? It's like it could be one of 10 million awesome guitarists. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
And then Wilco Johnson comes and does his bit, and it's just complete chaos, complete carnage. But you can tell it's him. You know what I mean? And I just love that. I love that kind of feel. And it's like there's a good video of him online as well, where he's like he's trying to explain his guitar technique to somebody, and he's like, so like, how do you play like you do? And he's like, well, I don't really know. I kind of just put my thumb over the top here and just kind of do this, and he just starts doing it, and that's it. That's all the explanation you're getting. But it's perfect. You know what I mean? I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You can tell it's kind of like a chaotic kind of. It's almost disjointed playing, but just somehow it kind of works, you know.
Yeah, he's superb, man. I absolutely love the guy.
And
Brilliant.
And that's the good thing, I guess. Sort of, you know, from being a drummer to kind of going on to like being a musician, if you like. Because you know, when I was learning to drive, I remember my instructor said, you know, you can drive a car, that's fine, but to become a driver, you've got to almost forget about driving the car, and being a driver is being aware of your surroundings. So like being a musician is being aware of all the other instruments, you know. And being, you know, I've got a fascination with like guitar players, bass players, guitar pedals, amps. I mean, I grew up as like sort of doing sound engineering and stuff, so I love all the sort of the techie stuff. But yeah, I just love watching other players at shows besides sort of, or as well as the drummer, and you just kind of see what people are doing. Like I have no idea how to play a guitar or a bass or a Hammond organ, but you know, I've just got a fascination. So
Yeah, and
I was gonna say we've got about
it's a
10
nice thing.
minutes left, but yeah, no,
You know what,
crack on,
mate?
crack on.
They was just saying like it's a funny thing like because my drum teacher used one of my other drum teachers that I tried out beforehand. He was obsessed with having like independent limbs,
Yeah,
like completely independent. And I was like, I can't do it, I can't do it. He goes, well, you can because you can drive. It's just another analogy because you're doing it all the time. Everything's moving independently when
yeah,
you're driving. But like he was a kind of guy like I mean he was amazing, but he'd be like doing paradiddles with his feet in one time signature, and then something else with each hand in different time signatures. And I'm like, that's great, right? But I'm going to spend 6 to 12 months learning that. What for? Why? Do you know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know. It doesn't compute with me stuff like that. I mean, Thomas Lang,
I
unbelievable
know,
player.
phenomenal drummer.
Virgil Donati, unbelievable player. But after 10 minutes, man, I've had enough. You know what I mean? Like it's all this stuff. It doesn't come across to me as musical. It's just complex and it's I don't know. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
look at like Danny Carey of Tool, Mike Portnoy, Dream Theater, Craig Blundell, who said Porcupine Tree. No, sorry, Gavin Harrison. Apologies. But Craig Blundell's another great drummer, session musician. Yeah, it's just I know what you mean. Sort of, it's sometimes it's hard to follow. I mean, another great drummer who you should check out is a guy called Matt Halpin, who is a drummer of a band called Periphery. They kind of gent, they sort of that's their style, and he's phenomenal. But when he broke it down at the drum clinic I did with him, it was he literally said, "Look, just focus on the kick drum, and then focus on the snare," and then he kind of basically brought in all the bits together. And he's like, "It sounds complicated, but I'm actually just playing a 4/4. It's just all the where the accents are and things. It just makes it seem more complicated than it is, you know." And that's the thing. You just break it down to like its component parts, and say it's easy, but it's more straightforward than when you just look at it as the whole picture,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, like they're incredible, and the stuff they can do with their bodies is incredible. Well, for me, like as I've got older, it's just got all about. I'm obsessed with groove nowadays. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to be.
Yeah, I'm just loving it. But yeah, the only problem is I'm just not that good at it yet. But that's where I'm working on. You know what I mean?
Well, I say you're a good player, mate. So you know, yeah, just keep working. Like we've all got room to kind of get better, you know.
Yeah,
But next question I just want to move on to is basically the equipment you use, kind of. So your sticks, you know, cymbals, drum kit. You know, like I interviewed Will Richards of the London Drumstick Company. That'll be an episode out shortly. So we spoke about the sticks and how, like, you know, how mine are made and things. And you know, let's start with the sticks. Yeah, what sticks do you use? Kind of, what's the, you know, are they really sort of thick sticks? Are they quite heavy? You know what?
No, so basically I've got London Drumstick Company as well. Mine are 5AX.
Okay, yeah.
The 5As, but a bit longer. Well, basically, all I did with Will, this is how useless I am. So, because I told you I was a Neil Peart fanatic.
Yeah.
So all I ever played was Neil Peart signature sticks, Pro Mark. That's all I ever played. Never really give any thought to whether they were right for me or not. But I just thought, and if you play something for long enough, you get used to it anyway. So when I got offered the London Drumstick thing, I basically just said, just copy those.
Yeah.
And that was it, because that's what I liked. They're the ones I liked, and I've got some of my old Neil Peart signatures up here in my shop.
Nice.
They're apps, and these are the ones that I had made for me for the London Drumstick Company. And
Yeah, no, I know the ones. Yeah,
look how knackered they
they're
are.
battered.
They're the same stick, pretty much.
Yeah.
So slightly different head, but still an acorn head. But the one of the Pro Mark one's slightly bigger, but same length, same weight, same everything. The 747s, I think the Neil Peart ones are called. I've used them that much. It's got no print on it anymore. Look.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how I got the sticks.
And they kind of feel right. They kind of feel right in your hand and stuff like that, you know. And you get the sort of good, you know, a good power and a good reaction from, you know, your skins and your cymbals and things.
Yeah, definitely. They're brilliant. And that company's brilliant anyway.
Yeah, Will's a good bloke,
Their
and
stuff is just
I mean, I use sometimes the same pair for I don't know how many gigs. So I'm not necessarily a hard hitter as such, but they're I can do 10 gigs with the same pair and they're still pretty good.
I think what Will has done for our scene as well. I think it's just fantastic.
Yeah,
I think he's an absolute top guy, man. It just the whole thing is just brilliant from start to end. From talking to him and then discussing about sticks and stuff like that. He was just class.
yeah. Need more people like him in the industry, really.
Absolutely, we do.
So the rest of your gear, what do you use? Talk me through your kind of your rig. What's
I
the rest of your rig, and kind of again why do you use them?
I've always been obsessed with Tama drums, ever since I was a kid. And I'll tell you a funny story. I'm going to digress a bit, but
Yeah.
So I always wanted a Tama Star Classic setup, because I loved it. Because they used to have them. I don't know if you remember. They used to have the gold logo.
Yes,
That's how
metal
you
logo,
used
yeah.
to identify. So I got one of them, and it was like 13 years old. So then when we went into the lockdowns, and I had that kit for 13 years, and I played it non-stop. Wasn't interested in anybody. It was this beautiful red spot. So it was my dream kit at the time. Then I decided through the lockdown that I wanted a Tama Star Classic, but I wanted one of the acrylic ones.
Yeah.
But Tama only made that kit in 2003. That was it. I could have ordered a drum kit from any other drum company, an acrylic kit, and it'd have been sound. But I went down this rabbit hole because I had too much time on my hands. And I basically, with the help of the guy from AD Drums, built an exact replica
You did, yeah,
of
you
that
built
Tama
it.
kit.
Yeah.
It took forever. We ordered the shells from the same factory. I bought another drum kit, stripped it for the metalwork from the same period, put all the badges together, and just built this kit. And so that's what I use now. It's the Tama Star Classic Mirage, but it's an exact replica. But for me, it's so stupid because it's cost me about 3 times more than just having even the DW kit would have said.
Yeah.
But it has to say Tama. Bit of a brand snob. It's the only thing I'm a bit of a brand snob on.
But why acrylic? Kind of why acrylic? What was your sort of reasoning for that?
Well, I used to have a birch kit. I had a birch, the birch kit that I had. Well, I've still got it. My Star Classics. I never ever played a drum kit. Still now, that sounds better than that kit. To me, I just love it. I love birch. I think great sounding drums. But the acrylic, because I've got this studio at home. Where there's set up down. Well, it's not a studio. It's a rehearsal room. Really set up in the so I can have a drum kit permanently set up there.
Yeah.
And I got fed up of first world problems of taking my drum kit down to then go on tour to then set one back up, and then it wouldn't get set up for another 3-4 weeks after I got back off tour. Do you know what I mean? So I wanted a second drum kit basically. But I thought if I'm going to get a second drum kit, I want one for the road, and I want it to look just different. You know what I mean? And I thought, well, if I'm going to buy of the two, I'm going to keep the Verge one anyway. I want something completely different, so that's why I decided to go for acrylic.
Yeah.
And whenever I used their Superior Drummer for recording and stuff, the samples.
Yeah.
My favourite sounds were always the acrylic sounds.
Okay.
They just sound. I think they sound fantastic. And when I got my drum kit, and I got it, and I had it built and I had it delivered and got it skinned up. They're just so punchy, man. I think people give them a hard time because it's plastic. They think there's a lack of craftsmanship there and stuff like that. But if it sounds good, it sounds good. You know what I mean? And it does. It sounds. Have you played one before? An acrylic kit?
I've played it wasn't Tama. Who was it? It's like I think it might have been like a premiere or something, like a prototype kind of kit. Yeah, and it's just this had reinforcement rings on the top and the bottom heads, maple ones, so you got a bit more of a warmer sound. But yeah, no, I think from what I remember, it was really, like you said, it had a bit of punch. It had a kind of like a snappiness to it as well. I mean, the heads I remember were tuned quite tightly, but it just had a really good kind of resonance to it as well, like a natural resonance. Because obviously wood, acrylic, slightly different, sound absorption sort of properties. But yeah, from what I remember, it was really good.
Well, that's why I wanted. That's why I went for the acrylic, because I just wanted something that was completely different if I was keeping both kits. And they just look dead cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look. I used to hate them, and it was Jack, our guitarist, who was like, "You should get an acrylic kit," and I was like, "Absolutely not, no way." And then after a while, I started to see more and more of them, and I was like, do you know what? That'd actually be pretty cool, especially for like. I think when you see them on a stage, I think they look great.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and look
But
at
I
the
think
sound.
they only look great at certain brands. Like I love Tama's chunky hardware,
Yeah,
um,
same.
and to have that on the kit, the acrylic looks great.
Your cymbals. So what's your kind of cymbal setup? And again, why did you choose them? What kind of sound, were you trying to go for? Obviously, being in Piston, that might have, I don't know, affected your um, sort of choices.
But I think because when I was younger, like again, it's with the Tama thing as well. It's like a lot of the metal drummers that I used to look at when I was a lot younger. Because I used to be in a metal band when I was younger. It was always Tama drums and Sabian cymbals. You know what I mean? That I can remember anyway. You know what I mean? Like there was used to like the big old double bass drum kit, gold Tama logos, and then Sabian cymbals on the top. And I don't know. I wanted that. You know what I mean? I wanted my kit to look like that. And a lot of people played Zildjian.
Mm.
And I don't know, at the time, it sounds so stupid now, but like all the drummers at school, like the drum kits at school, it was Zildjian. The drummers at school, they all played Zildjian. I was like, well, I'm going to play Sabian then. You know what I mean? And then I remember when, and that's all there is to it, really. You know what I mean? I just found a range that I like. Obviously, like Chad Smith and people like that, they played Sabian as well. And I don't know, they all just look so shiny and lovely, and I just like the logo. You know what I mean? And that's as simple as it gets. It's a bit like, for me, brands in drums and stuff. It's a bit like a football team. You just end up just like sticking to them. You know what I mean? But I have played some. What did I play recently? Some minor cymbals, man. And I'm very, very tempted with that kind. They're really nice cymbals. I got with a Foundry Reserve. Is that right?
That's one of the series, I think. Yeah, I think it's like
Yeah.
I can't remember the combination of metal that they're using from, but yeah, I think it's say new, but newish.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm not sure whether I want to upgrade just yet. But yeah, I've just used Sabian for that main reason.
yeah,
Like, I love that. I feel like I've got a bit of a loyalty to them now, even though I'm not endorsed by them or anything
yeah.
like that. I just love them. You know what I mean? And then obviously Neil Peart moved to Sabian before he died. I was well happy
Yeah.
about
I think
that.
they obviously, like I said, they work. Like some of your Sabians, some obviously like your A customs, your Zildjian A customs, obviously very bright and sort of quite ear piercing. Yeah, they kind of suit different applications and things like that. But what you sort of touched on, Minor, so that was kind of like the last bunch of cymbals that I sort of played on before I went over to Diril cymbals. So Diril is a guy called Ibrahim who basically put together and created the Byzant series for Minor, which is kind of like one of the most popular ranges. And I think the Paste or Pasty B20 series. And the good thing with Diril is you can customize cymbals. You can kind of like have your own custom set. But I kind of like what I like with Minor, and this kind of why I've gone with Diril is I quite like the trashy kind of sound. So most of my cymbals are kind of like unlathed, unpolished, so quite raw on the top, maybe sort of semi-polished on the bottom. It just gives it a bit of a trashier sound and kind of like a shorter decay. Just because what I've tried to do on stage is just kind of with my drums like reduce the volume. Obviously, I can hit them hard, but just kind of tune my heads down a little bit so they're a bit warmer, a bit fatter. I mean, the kit I've got is copper, and that's quite a warm sound anyway. And I've got like some sim pad things, like some what they called moderators, where it's basically like a big sort of disc of dense foam, and they basically sit underneath the bell. And what that does, it doesn't kill the tone, but it basically cuts down, like I said, the decay and the resonance, which isn't a bad thing. And it's just kind of just letting all the sort of the instruments kind of sing together, as it were. But yeah, I just like the sound. I mean, my hats are 13 inches. As much as they're trashy, it's kind of a bit of a brighter sound. And fun enough, we got the 13 inches by mistake from Diril, and I thought, actually, do you know what? I like this. It's just a bit of a brighter sound. But like I said, yeah, it's just what you're happy with. Like you said, you see some of your idol drummers, you kind of play what they play, and I personally don't like the brighter cymbals, but again, it's personal preference and kind of an application. But it's funny enough when you see
all my cymbals are they're all AAX, which are very bright.
Mm.
But now, like as I've got I don't know, as my music taste has changed and all sorts, I'm looking for something completely different to those now as well. Do you know what I mean? They were great for my band because they cut through everything. This is what I need. But now, I don't know. I've been looking in the Sabian cymbals. I've been looking at the like HHX range and the Legacy range as well, which is the Dave Weckl signature.
Yeah.
They sound absolutely phenomenal. A lot thinner, a lot sort of like you say, trashier. They're really nice, but I'm really starting to not like the sound of my AXs anymore.
Okay.
It's too much. It's like as I've been doing a little bit more intricate stuff and thinking about sticking more as opposed to just, you know what I mean? They're not very good for stuff like that because the definition really isn't there. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not. It's just they're not having the same feel for me anymore.
No.
I mean, I love my hat. I've got 16-inch hi-hats I have.
Blimey, okay. Jesus, okay, that's massive.
Yeah, it's fucking huge. Like, all my cymbals that I've got for the band are big. Like, I've got the 16-inch hats,
18-inch,
19-inch.
19.
Sorry?
19, yeah. And what about your ride? 22, 23?
24.
24, okay. Bigger is better.
Yeah. But the ride's really cool, actually. It's called it's the AA ride. It's the bash ride.
Yeah.
And it's more of a crash ride, really. It's got a great bell on it. But
I was going to say, yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about it. Yeah, it's just, yeah, you need, like I said, the definition between the surface and the bell. But yeah, it is quite loud. It is a loud cymbal, though, from what I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking to do like a complete overhaul with my cymbals. I just want different sounds now. Things have changed, you know what I mean? But like you're saying about the warmer sound, on my Birch kit, the last thing I did before I started using my Birch kit's still set up at home, was I started using Evans, is it UV2s?
They the kind of frosted heads, are they? Are they frosted or clear? I can't remember.
No, they're coated, but they're like Kevlar.
Yes, okay.
And they sound brilliant. Like they've made the drums a hell of a lot warmer, and I actually much prefer the sound of those on my Birch kit. But I've got clear heads on my acrylic kit, but I think that's more of an aesthetic thing. Like I think even the coated heads would look good on an acrylic kit, but I think they'd look shite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the coated heads, it was something I never thought I'd play. I absolutely love them now on the toms. They just sound phenomenal.
So what heads do you use on the toms? What coated head do you use on the toms? What heads do you use on the toms? Sorry.
The UV2s.
Oh, the UV2s on the toms, okay.
Yeah, but on my acrylic kit, they're G2s.
Okay.
Clear. Evans. So yeah, and they again, I think an acrylic kit looks good when it's all see through. You know what I mean? Yeah,
because you can kind of see moving around the whole thing. But I mean, it's just say advice, because I've literally spent years literally sort of perfecting my sound really. I use moon gels and things kind of if I have to, but what I found, so the heads I use, generator, sort of twin ply heads from Code, is I use basically a twin ply on the batter head, and I also use like a twin ply on the resonant. So obviously I've got and twin plies are naturally, a bit, give you a bit more EQ, but basically because I've got both on the top and the bottom, it just gives it a bit more of a dampening effect without necessarily having to use moon gels. I don't know. I've got this thing where I get, obviously a lot of big drummers use moon gels, but I like to go, right, okay, I want to be able to tune my toms and my snare well enough that it's not got these really horrible overtones that I need to kind of dampen them with, So I do spend maybe a bit, say, too much time tuning my drums, but yeah, that's really helped. Using double ply on the toms. But again, it's like I said, it's just perfecting your sound. But I'd recommend, using double plies on your both heads, resonant and batter side for your toms, and I personally think you'd see a difference, because obviously if you're using a clear resonant head, and maybe say even if you've got a double ply on the top, you'd obviously still get a lot of projection from the clearer heads. But just play around, especially with like your cymbals. The best thing I'd say is go into a shop, try literally like every cymbal. So have a hi-hat set up, 2 crashes and a ride, and try and sort of because you want them tonally to be a little bit different. You don't want 2 crashes to have the same kind of pitch. But even like pitching your cymbals against your snare and stuff, because that when you're sort of doing, say, a drum thing, hitting the cymbal and the snare at the same time, that kind of yeah, I basically thought too much about it. But
Yeah.
yes, just
See,
make the right choice. But I'd say Minos are good. You know, they are good. They are pricey, but like I said, Diril are very good, very competitively priced, and just yeah, I spent a lot of time listening to videos, and because they've got their distribution center in Italy, and just listening to like the bell, because that's like for me, if I'm on the ride, I want a really nice clear bell, nothing too kind of muddy. And again, like the cymbals, does it decay too much? Does it decay not enough? And like you say, crash rides and getting the weights right and things like that, because obviously the thinner cymbal's going to crash, it's going to resonate a lot more. But yeah, just spend a lot of time choosing and then eventually have
yeah,
your.
I'm completely and utterly useless at tuning drums or anything like that. Because what I do is I'll watch a video and I'll try and tune it, and then I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But does it sound good? Does it not sound good? Because the problem is with drums, like, going back and completely against what we said earlier, there's no right or wrong way to tune a drum either.
No.
Like if you're going to tune a guitar, you tune it to this, or you tune it to that, and it's right. But like when it's tuning a drum, I like
Oh, hang on.
insane with that. Like, you know what I mean? I drive myself insane. So I've got this guy who comes in and has his haircut here with me called James, and he's an absolute hero. And he's obsessed with drums and the build of drums and the tuning of the drums. He's got his tune bot. And I'm like, all I say is, every now and then I say to James, who's coming in and get his haircut, I'm like, look, dude, just come around, tune my drums. I'll get you a pizza, and he'll come and tune them for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier, but I think like you can tell though when you're tuning drums, you can tell if something sounds off or not. You can tell kind of because like, you can do opposites kind of or you can do anti-clockwise, whatever. But I mean, you got obviously basically you start with your resonant head. That's always going to be higher pitched than the batter, but you kind of tap near the lugs, kind of whatever direction you want them to make sure they kind of sound more or less even. But then what you can do once they're all even, you can then as you're hitting the drum, you can detune whatever key you want at random, whatever lug, and it'll still sound fine. But you can kind of go, okay, it's just, and obviously it depends on where you hit the tom or whatever. But you can do that, But it's just getting them all even first, and then detuning whatever you want just to get a unique sound. But it's like it doesn't necessarily matter on what kit you're tuning the heads on. You can have a rubbish, a cheapy £100 Pearl export, and basic heads. But if you know how to tune them, you can make
sound great.
You can make them sound great.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
So, sort of the last question really is sort of twofold. It's about challenges and sort of warm up techniques as a drummer. How do you stay sort of match fit for a gig or even a rehearsal? What's your kind of tips on warm up techniques for yourself?
Well, as I like the best warm up technique I've been told. Like for me personally, I've tried all sorts. So I've got one of those reflex pads. I just sit with that for a bit, and there was one that a drum teacher taught me, and I just sit and do it for ages. It's like right, left, right, left, right, left.
Mm.
And then you diddle it, and then it passes across the other hand, and I'll sit and do that for like ages, like before a gig. But then we went on tour with Glenn Hughes, and there was a guy called Ash. He was a really good drummer. He's absolutely brilliant, actually. And I ended up speaking to him for quite a while, and he came around and gave me a lesson. And he just said, the way I warm up is he just sits and literally does singles, just sits and does singles, but correct singles. No flamming or anything like that, just straight singles, which is unbelievably hard to do for a long period of time. And he'll sit and he'll do that for 5 minutes. And then he'll sit and then he'll do his doubles for 5 minutes. And then he'll sit and do a paradiddle for 5 minutes, but just keeping it all same volume, same, so like, and just the same spacing, not speeding up, not slow it down, nothing. And I found that to be more helpful than anything else I've done warm up wise. And it's the most basic of the basic things that you could ever wish to do. But it's just to sit there And it's not just because when you start doing that, and you know, 5 minutes is a long time, man. Right? You're just sitting there, like, your brain just switches off. Like your brain just goes away, like goes and does something, but your hands just keep going, doing the same thing. And I don't know whether that's just like a subconscious thing or whatnot, but I found that to be really helpful before playing a gig. That and 3 pints of beer.
3 pints of beer, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. And then that honestly, I swear by that now. It's just so simple. But he was like, you know, they're the foundations of it all. And if they're smooth and nice and clean all the time, then you can do pretty much anything then. Because he was basically saying that everything that you play is either singles or doubles, basically, just mixed up into different ways. And he's right. So if you're getting all those nailed down, I don't really bother too much warming up my feet, to be honest, or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just my hands. I just warm up with feet. I don't ever play anything that's that fast, complicated, or needs as much dexterity with the feet anyway.
Yeah.
But it's always the hands for me. I don't know about you. It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't kind of, you know, your description of a warm up apart from the beer. I sort of sound like to say daft. Like going for a run, I'll kind of stretch my arms. Obviously, you get, you know, from your wrist and stuff like that upwards, just kind of making sure you're all limber. You know, making sure you're not tense. I kind of do sort of my legs because, I mean, again, like sort of Bonham, you know, he's one of my idols, especially for kick drums, because just what he does with a single foot. You know, some people will go, "Oh, how do you do that?" You know, they'll bring in a double pedal for it, and I've used double pedal in the past, and you can do some really amazing things with a double pedal. You know, you can make a basic fill sound incredible, but I'm kind of like, no, I want to, you know, heel up, heel down, get some, you know, really good quick triplets, quick doubles going. So I kind of do sort of, you know, move my ankle about just to make sure, again, my foot's limber. I mean, my left foot, I mean, it's just, you know, for keeping the rhythm on the hi-hats. I don't really, you know, that's kind of simple. But yeah, kick drum, and also kind of like doing, it sounds like you're doing a double pedal, but you kind of like doing you know, really quick, and just doing that for ages, just seeing how it's kind of like, you know, building up your stamina on your feet. But yeah, I mean, I've got a practice pad which I sort of have, which I take to gigs with me, but I don't bloody use because we're normally talking to press or talking to, you know, our mates who come and see us or whatever. So we don't really get time to sort of warm up. But I think, you know, especially at festivals. But I think, yeah, when we've got sort of gigs where we've got a bit more time, then I think I'll probably take a leaf out of your book and do it, because I think, you know, you'll notice obviously how much quicker, more limber you are going around the kit. I mean, I notice when I get to the edge of a gig, the end of the gig, I'm knackered, you know, especially in this heat. You know, halfway through a gig, I'm sort of all right. I've still got some energy. Last 2 songs, I'm like, you know, it's just kind of, yeah, how much have I got?
Yeah. But what you're saying, like you were saying about stretches and stuff, I never stretch, but what I feel at the start of a gig, if I haven't warmed up properly, I can feel myself starting to seize up. You know what I mean? And this can be halfway through the first song. And you know, when you start happening halfway through the first song, I'm like, oh, this is not good. I've got 45 minutes to play here, and I'm seizing up already. Whereas, like, but I guess you get the same thing through stretching anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, your fingers play like a massive part. You know, you're kind of like your pinky finger, kind of like, you know, getting that, you know, and also where you hold the stick if you want to get like a double or a triplet on just like a single stroke. You know, it's yeah, lots of techniques you can do, but I think as long as it kind of feels right and you're playing kind of, you know, how you want to play. But sort of last question really is, you know, for anyone that's watching, you know, if anyone wants to take up drums, or they are sort of drumming, maybe sort of their sort of, you know, beginning or kind of intermediate, have you got any sort of advice or tips for sort of, yeah, drummers out there and kind of who want to pursue it, you know? Oh, I think that might be your signal. Hang on.
Drums is by far the most fun instrument anyone can ever play. And try not to take too much. Just always remember there's no right or wrong. Try not, because really doesn't matter. You know, and just try not to like focus so much on. There's a guy called Eddie, because I think with way social media and stuff is now, it can really put people off. It can have the adverse effect of what it's of what it's intended to have, though, if that makes sense. Like Eddie Thrower, great drummer, he did this thing once, and you know, when you see like a clip of a drummer playing a minute, like if you or I did a clip of us playing a minute for Facebook or Instagram or whatever, chances are we didn't just sit down and just play that first time. You know what I mean? We've worked out what we're going to play. We've messed it up at least 50 times, and then eventually we've got it right in the end. But the way we all make it look, and we can't help it, is to make it look like we've just sat down and just banged that out like it's nothing. And I just don't ever want people to be put off by stuff like that, because above anything, it needs to be fun. And if it's not fun, and if it becomes a chore, it becomes something you beat yourself up about, you're doing something wrong. But you know, we have the most fun out of everybody. Like, and that is not even up for discussion. That's a fact, right? And just remember, it's fun. And you know, my biggest bugbear is don't compare yourself to people, man. Ever.
Yeah, it's difficult.
You know what I mean? Just do what you need to do, and try and, you know, and just to have fun. Because I think people get put off by a lot these days of what they see, but a lot of what they see is not real. It's false. You know what I mean? Well, it's not false, but it's not what it appears to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like kind of like embellished and kind of, you know, caricatured a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, we just need to have fun, man. Just that's it. I know it's a bit of a cliche thing today. But
I agree. If you're in a band and people aren't, you know, your bandmates aren't taking the piss out of you, then, you know, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, no point at all. You might as well forget it. I 100% agree, man. 100% agree.
But listen, mate, honestly, appreciate you sort of taking the time and sort of hanging out with me virtually. You know, hopefully, you know, I'll see you on the road again in some sort of in a different guise of some sorts, in a different band. You know, keep doing what you're doing. Let us know how you got on with the cymbals. Like I said, I'll send you a link to Dirill and whatnot. You can have a look. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing, mate. Keep grooving, keep having fun, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to hang out for a beer in the near future.
Yeah, we need to make that happen, man.
All right. Look after yourself, mate, in this heat, and yeah, stay hydrated with this stuff, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, mate. Take it easy.
Cheers, Brad.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Take care. Bye.